Hey y'all, grown black folks talk back out on the climb on another unusually warm spring day for this early in the summer in San Francisco. It is July 17th, still in the first third of the summer, and the fog has not been as persistent this year, and that probably has to do with the heat dome that's over the whole, almost the rest of the United States is beginning to have some effect. We're going to pay for this in August, I'm quite certain. But in the meantime, I do what I sometimes do. I wanted to come out to this quiet place because I wanted to give you, in this beautiful place, the tale of two black men. And because I'm going to let y'all marinate on this one first, and because I get tired of black men coming up here and having fits on my page when I say anything that is critical, we're going to do the happy one first. Come off the defense. We're going to talk about a good situation and how and what that leads to. A woman can't tell a man how to be a man. A woman can describe the great men that she knows. My pastor, Kiva El-Mahia, had his 9th anniversary yesterday. He is 72. Well, we're going to see how long this wind's going to let us tell this tale. He is 72 years old. And, of course, having been born in the South, after 3 years of COVID, really wanted to do a traditional Black Baptist style anniversary. Now, for me, burned out on all that, 42, and I completely understand how these traditions for our elders are their connection to their culture, even though they don't fit into modern Black life very well. Notably, because we chose to have it in the summer. He chose to wait. His anniversary is really in December. He's been celebrating in February. But in February, the COVID numbers were still too high in San Francisco. So he waited all the way to July. He delayed it so that the COVID numbers could be down and we could do things and have 6 churches in the building and there would be less danger for everybody. But this also epitomizes why this man is a great man. This is a man who has been faithful over many things. He's been with us 9 years. The first 3 were not great because there was 9 figures of stuff on the table, and it's only so much I can say about what's going on because there's a settlement. But let's just say that there were some individuals who didn't, as Sister McNeil said it so well, who didn't think we as black people needed to have all that. 9 figures of all that. I've talked to y'all about Pastor D. Manning Jackson and the legacy that he left. Well, Kiva El-Mahia came and picked up the ball. The Lord showed him how and who and all the rest, and we were able to save that property from going into the hands of others. And now it is able to serve and generate 4 or 5 generations of black people, including a black elder, black women and children, and black men. There's just not as many of them because of the age group that we serve, senior citizens. There aren't as many black men. And we also serve other people because you can't discriminate in housing. But 5 generations of people, and what we're going to be able to do, and this is what Pastor McNeil saw 8 years ago, that since we own this property and if we take care of it well, any excess it produced can now be turned back into the community for things the community needs. So we're in the process of being able to finally get to that. So he is a great man. This is a man who, when I told y'all about going to this deacon's ordination, so many black men came and said about this man that he helped make them better men. When one of the testimonies yesterday, someone in our church who's been there a long time said, I want y'all to know something about Pastor McNeil. I called him before getting ready to commit a murder. Y'all know that black men kill black men 25 times a day. According to FBI stats from 2020, I've said that. He said, I'm going to go kill them right now. And Pastor McNeil said, let us pray, and started praying on the phone because he knew what the situation was. And he said, this man prayed me out of a jail term. He stopped me from going to kill someone. And I know that when I get overwhelmed by my life, I'm like, this is probably more information than I wanted about you. But the point is, I've watched Pastor McNeil mentor black men and support them in supporting their families. I've watched Pastor McNeil also be a protector to me personally Because some of those forces in the church that were also causing all this trouble were people that personally had attacked me several times. He got up in the pulpit and said, Sister Deanne has been called by the Lord to do a very specific ministry with these children that no one else here can do. So what you're going to do is you're going to leave her alone. He's protected the women in the church. I went to him when we had individuals in the church who were sexually harassing other people. He's like, I'll take care of it. And he did. And he did. That was the end of that. Because there were other women coming to me about it, and I'm like, we're all having the same experience. He said, what do you now? Pastor Neil said, I got it. He's a former parole officer. Act a fool when you want to. He's had ministers who were former pimps, big guys, come to the church and start acting a fool. He got right up in one of them's face and stood on his tiptoes and said, see, I thought you were a man of God, but I guess I found out otherwise. Out. This man has had every police captain we have had in 9 years come over and introduce himself to the police. Every single one of them. We have made some of those officers cry because we said what we had to say. We have taken government officials and we have made government officials understand that you can do what you want to do everywhere else, but around here, El Bethel, church, arms, and terrorists, I don't think we're going to do that. No. We're not going to have a whole bunch of other people. We got big coalitions that want to see 200 miles of bike lanes, and we're like, no. They're going to have to come down here and come correct. We ain't going to be in the backyard for 200 miles. They can put those in Pacific Heights. They ain't putting them down here. Excuse me? No, I said, okay, well, I'm like, look, Mr. Politician, bring them people in here. Because Pastor Neil had the community turn out, let the other churches know, and organize the churches that wanted to do work so that we could have parking, so that we could have access for our seniors, solving problems, and also helping local business people solve problems, helping local nonprofits solve problems, using our infrastructure for the good of the larger community. Because like I said, we got between the two sides of the street, we got 9 figures of infrastructure. Now the community can come and say, hey, El Bethel used to be the meanest, stupidest church in the city. Yeah, that's what they used to say about us 10 years ago. Not anymore. Not anymore. This has to do with this man's leadership. So even though culturally it is exhausting, but the other thing is, Pastor Neil didn't ask for anything that's against the scriptures. He didn't put curses on the people. He didn't ask for a specific amount. He, said, whatever you feel like bringing, show some love, but that's up between you and the Lord. He didn't make it a burden on the people. He let the people bless him as God blessed them to bless him. In my particular case, I spent time on the phone this morning. A whole bunch of people are down paying me. So I'm trying to get things worked out. So I did what I could, and I left a memo. Your artwork is coming. Some of y'all know I do visual art. This is going to cost more than I can afford to do on something that's discretionary. But hopefully, he'll still be alive next week and the week after. So we'll get this done. But he left us room. He did not compel the people. And there's nothing that he asked for in Black Baptist tradition that contradicts the scripture at all. So now it becomes a matter of preference. Do I want to stay all day in the classic 3 o'clock service 3 years after COVID? No. Did I put on my N95 mask and make sure the kids had what they needed to have together and made sure they sang like they lost their minds? Yes. Why? Because if you have a great man, you learn how to love him the way he needs to be loved. Do you have to manage 9 figures worth of stuff to be a great black man? No, you do not. You don't. My father doesn't have quite that much responsibility. He has plenty. But even today, as I was working through some things, I realized his reputation makes it so people won't bother me. You don't mess with Sammy Lee Matthews' daughter. My father had less responsibility, but has upheld everything that he has had the Lord assign him well. He's a great man. Do we always get along? No. In fact, today he said he's something he wants the church to do, and I'm like, well, Pastor Neil made up his mind about that 7, 8, 9 years ago. We're not going to be able to do that. But then I went to the other side and I said, well, we probably can't do it outright, but maybe there's some way I can work it in. I'll try it. Why? Because my father's a great man. He has upheld all his responsibilities to his family and his community, and some of those mentees that Pastor McNeil has are people that he taught as well. Actually, one of his students asked me, how's Reverend Matthews doing? Yesterday, walked up on me yesterday wanting to know. These are great men. These are great men. These are unambiguously black men who were handed the same raw deal. Pastor was born in 1951, my dad in 1936. These men were handed the pre-civil rights raw deal. They made it happen. And at this point, it is more than appropriate. And like I said, do you need 9 figures worth of stuff? No. No. Be faithful over what you have. If you're a Christian, the Lord Jesus said, be faithful over, you've been faithful over a few things relative to the universe. Come on up a little higher, I'll make you ruler over many. Well, that's also true in temporal life. When you are faithful over what you have right now, more will be given to you. Responsibility breeds responsibility. Irresponsibility breeds poverty. And that, of course, goes to the second video that I have to do, which I probably will still do out here in this nice, calm place, because that's going to be a much harder pill to swallow. But I want to do the first tale, the tale of the great uncle. Be faithful. Be faithful. Faithful men are rare. And you keep at it, and faithful men will receive respect. Now, if you need to measure yourself by Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, see how that wind got ominous like that? If you need to measure yourself against white men who are out of their cotton picking minds and are doing things that have their children changing their names and disowning them, okay, there's no amount of faithfulness from day to day that's going to get you there. Most people are not going to have $1 billion. If you got your $1 billion by having your workers in situations such as they have to wear diapers because they can't get enough breaks, nope, your day-to-day faithfulness is not going to get you there. But I have been seeing a year of men black men being honored by their community down to 30 years old all year. I'm telling you what, all year. It's been beautiful to see it. And I'm telling y'all, the way is open. And ladies, what I have to say to them, should you encounter a faithful man like that, learn how he feels love. Determine if you can do it, because not everybody can. A lot of people go on vacation. They couldn't make it. But hopefully, we'll have Pastor McNeil a bunch more years. And people will let him know in October or whenever. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's not a match. But if you can, and he is a great, faithful man, it doesn't hurt to learn how does he feel loved. And do that. If it's a partner, also communicate how you feel loved. If you have a great man, a faithful man, he will learn how to do that. Pastor McNeil and I have had our conversations. It's been a very interesting 9 years. And we don't always see eye to eye. In fact, we got to have one of them conversations tomorrow about some things that went down at the last meeting. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to let him take his vacation because I know he's stressed out. I'm going to let him get through his anniversary. I don't have to be in a hurry. Let the man have some time to decompress and then go talk to him. Because most men don't do well when they're exhausted and overwhelmed. Plus, he's 72 years old. So life's going to continue. The working relationship is still going to be interesting because that's life. We got 9 figures worth of stuff that we have to take care of. But he is a great man. He's a great man. Just like my father, my grandfather, several of my uncles. Great men because they were faithful. They didn't have to have $1 billion. Most of them will never ever see 6-figure money. A couple of them have responsibility for 6 and 7 now. And of course, I knew my father when he was much younger, and I know his growth process. I lived as he was growing. He was maturing as I was growing up. None of these men are perfect, just like none of the women around them are perfect. I also should just say, Sister McNeil, there's a lot of things that she does that we don't see, but she backs him up. She is definitely a partner. One thing you're not going to do, you're not going to run down her husband in front of her. Nope. She going to make sure he's all right. And she shares him with us a lot of his time, and she's patient with our food. Sometimes. That first 4 years is rough. And makes time. And sometimes we'll drive him back and forth to make sure he's okay, because they're both getting older. Makes things happen. Also, though, is a dynamic person on her own. She runs a bookstore. She makes sure the church has all its Black history supplies. She makes sure that the church has educational materials so we can do our Black history things, so we have them. She does a great deal of that, and there's just all these subtle little things that she does that you don't think about them as often, but with a great man, there's a great woman. I have to always remind myself to mention that, because if I don't, confidence with love is going to be like, excuse me. you forgot to mention our living history? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. She does a lot to keep his household the way he needs it. She does a lot for the church that's quiet, and she's actually part of the reason I'm keeping up with my health as well as I am, because she stays on my neck. She stays on my neck, which is good. She's the reason I'm going to be, now that COVID is a little bit down, a little bit more, some very specific. She was a nurse in a prison, so there's very specific things that she knows about healthcare. She was a nurse. Like, okay, ask about this. When you go to your next checkup, make sure they check on this, make sure they check on this. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Good person also. Also a great woman. Just more subtle, but definitely a force. And like I said, she was the one that said, look, the problem is they don't want us to have this because they don't think we deserve it. I'm like, oh, wow. A lot of insight, a lot of wisdom. Both of them. But the video is about a tale of two Black men. And I could do a video about, it's about two Black men, because I can contrast Sister McNeil with some other individuals, but it's not this video. I want you to marinate on this for a little while. I may put up the next one tomorrow morning. I want you to get really situated in the fact that there are Black men who are great men walking the earth and men becoming great down to the age of about 30. They still exist. And understand that this is my lived experience. This is not something that's theoretical. I didn't have to go looking for these men. My father and my pastor mentored all these people around me. So, marinate on that. Because the next story you're not going to like as much. We've talked about the path to great honor. The next one you're not going to like as much. But enjoy this and marinate on it. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.